It is really interesting because public space protection orders, which were brought in 2004, 2005, like an ASBO, but were around a range of things like people giving out flyers or using motorised little cars in parks or walking together on the street, where you've got this intervening, nannying local councils, security everywhere. The idea that our public spaces are no longer ours and constantly being subject to intervention. So this idea of the public as something that needs to be treated with restrictions and limits.
Well, maybe the public should have got out and voted in the election in a different way, Alan. They seem to want all this wokery.
Well, I
don't want any of it, but I don't want
it was a very low turnout because people were so furious and cynical, weren't they? I mean, that has to be addressed.
Well, look what happened with Brexit, and that's just got ignored by our political establishment. So people are sick of it. They've got disenfranchised.
Let me ask Alan a thing. I don't like cyclists, all right? I don't like people on bikes. I don't like people on these scooters. And I think they should all be taxed and they should all be insured because they cause so much trouble on the roads. Would you agree?
No, I actually, listen, the thing about it is that we had a situation...
See, what your organisation is only things you agree with.
No. Well, no, our organisation is based on actually engaging democratically and having the public's interest. So making sure that we are canvas. So we don't actually get proper consultations. They often don't go out to people. When they do, they ignore them. We found that time and time again up and down the country.
Well, Brexit is the biggest one.
And so we're talking about having a proper voice, about not just having impositions.
So you have a proper voice at an election and very few people turned out.
The great and the good, not just having the great and good impose things, but having a debate, an honest, rigorous, difficult discussion where you address.
Then why don't you stand as a politician?
Well, because we're a campaign organisation and we've already achieved several things. We got the government. We got the government, the PM, to back away from Liverpool streets, funding low traffic neighbourhoods. We got the Department of Transport to recognise those things. We got the Bank of England to respond to demands and insisting on cash. We have got things like the Online Safety Act change with harmful, legal but harmful measures with a range of people. We challenged the debanking and deplatforming. People know about Nigel Farage, but actually us with the Free Speech Union and Us for Them were very involved in making that happen. On a number of issues up and down the country, we've campaigned. We actually campaigned against vaccine mandates at the time with frontline staff, against COVID passports. We've done a range of issues where we mobilise.
We don't have any of these things to worry about anymore, so that's excellent. Thank you very much.
Digital ID is coming, being suggested by Tony Blair and many. And if you look at the discussion around actually restricting and imposing measures, particularly around sort of the way they zone cities and they're moving with cars, that looks like it's coming down the pipeline.
The social credit system, they're bringing that in.
Well, it's a shame people didn't vote.
Currency.
I want to bring in mandatory voting.
Yeah.
That everybody in this country has to vote.
Like in Australia.
Because otherwise you get organisations who are on the side of it. You know, I want to see bikes off the road, or if you're riding a bike, you have a number on your back and you have to have insurance. I want to see all these cycle lanes got rid of, but people seem to want them.
No, they don't.
Well, not many people.
Only the minority.
I don't think that's quite true. I think that if you look in the areas where these things have happened, many people are furious. Some have had them taken out. There's huge. There's a few very, very wealthy green billionaires like Mike Bloomberg and Christopher Hone and others who've been funding some key cycling activists and groups like Sustrans who are involved in all the consultations that lobby hard. Local councils make a lot of money from it. They're pushing this agenda significantly. But when locals around the country, and there's many examples of it, have challenged it, some of them have come out. But there's a trajectory which is an attempt to get rid of cars, particularly for working people, and it's a big concern.
Yeah. Well, people need to realise that. I don't understand why, when so many people have been saying exactly what you're saying, that the voters went out in London. You can't move in London. In London, the capital city of this nation, and other cities, Leeds the same, and Manchester and Birmingham. You know, they are all clogged up. Their economies are falling by the wayside, and so they need to be helped.
Well, what we're encouraging people to do, who've become, some people understandably, very disillusioned and cynical, although we did see the election of some new independents, the first time historically in Britain, where 5, actually 6 if you include Northern Ireland, 6 new people and a new party, Reform, happened to be quite a precedent, 4 million voters. I mean, we don't have proportional representation, but one could argue that all sorts of things are happening, but there was a diminished vote, and there are very good reasons for that. It's problematic indeed, but I wouldn't make a dichotomy between you either vote or you campaign. We talk about a 360 approach: campaigning, lobbying, getting press, arguing on the grassroots, getting people involved locally, regionally, nationally. We've got regional and national ambassadors, and voting, the by-elections which will be coming up, and the nationals. But that happens once every few years. We need to keep pressure on all those elected representatives.